Here we go, Shelter FootyCast. Mark Reddings, Will Schofield with you on your Thursday, Friday, whenever you're listening. Welcome to the Shelter FootyCast. G'day, Skeet, how are you?
Very well, Scully. Great to see a full round of footy back. We've had 3 weeks of little bits and pieces of 6 weeks, six matches. I think just have one full weekend of no footy and then get back the following week. You footballers, you want every little advantage and have a break here and there. Just have a week off and get back into it. Stop this fiddling around.
Don't do me like that. Don't you footballers, mate. I tell you what is great to see. Your bloody outfit today, mate. I tell you what, pocket square in. You got the checkered suit. You got the Julius Marlows. You've never looked better.
Yeah, and you might actually find a tailor to get hold of those jeans. No, I'm just doing some bit of corporate stuff later on today. I won't say corporate. I'm doing something with Essendon Footy Club at a bar a bit later, but I might want to make it sound a bit more flash than what it was.
Skeet's off to the big corporate jobs later today, but we are here for the round 15 preview.
That's hard.
Mate, that's gone quickly.
How quick has the year gone?
Round 15. Holy shit.
It's extraordinary.
Very good. So what we do here on the Shelter FootyCast, if you are new to the show, it's a West Australian theme. We go through the West Coast Eagles, the Fremantle Dockers, the rest of the round. We give you who's going to win. Skeet and I tip a winner anyway. We don't know who's going to win, though.
We're shot.
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow us on social, Shelter FootyCast. You can find us on a website, absolutely. Footycast at shelterbrewing.com.au is our email, or you can find us over at the Shelter Brewing website, shelterbrewing.com.au. Follow the links there, or you can watch us on YouTube, listen to us on a podcast. Absolutely everything brought to you by Shelter. The boys down in Busselton, in front of the jetty down there, doing great things. Caught up with the boys during the week. Going very well, Skate. Very well.
They're liking the cast as well, the little podcast we're doing, so it's good. The FootyCast is working well for them, and I'll tell you what, they had a couple of shelters last weekend, and good drop. You
had the house to yourself, so you would have liked no footy last weekend by the sounds of things.
No, what's a bit of footy?
No footy, shelters, jazz crackers, Julius Marlowe's off.
Just completely lost the plot. You know, you lose your way when your wife's away. In terms of Adam Mullane, she's back, thank goodness, and I'm just back in a sweet spot.
Who? Adam Mullane? Is that what you just said, or did I just make that up?
Out of my lane.
Oh,
out of my lane. She puts me back in my lane, and now I'm... No, not Adam.
Who's Adam Mullane? Sorry about that. All right, big moment in the round. Round 15. I think it's Jordan De Goey. We've spoken about him a little bit, but we've sort of seen this all play out across probably 3 shows now. So he was going to Bali, and we sort of questioned why that was happening. He went to Bali. Social media went off, and there was a big ruckus about that, and now... it's played out. Collingwood Football Club, the CEO, came out and spoke. Jordan De Goey put out a statement before that saying doesn't want to be persecuted by the media, and now he's taken personal leave. So I don't know where it all sits and plays out from here, but I kind of my first thought was, are we all happy now? It's been a shit show. Clearly, he's not coping well because he's now stepped away from the game. I don't think that's a good thing. That's not a positive outcome. He's been suspended, fines been handed down to $25,000, which for me doesn't really mean anything.
It's nothing. It's not a suspension.
No.
It's not even a penalty because essentially he probably will never have to pay that unless he steps across the line. If he steps across the line again, then you'd think that perhaps he's going to find himself not at the footy club. I mean, but this in isolation, this wasn't, I don't think, a hanging offence.
No.
But what it did do, I think. And you have to listen to women who viewed this and thought this was pretty disrespectful. This is what we see guys do in nightclubs all the time, albeit they were friends, and his friend, the female friend, ticked off on it.
Yes.
I said, no, nothing to see here. I think at the end of the day, if there were women who thought, you know what, this happens to me when I go to nightclubs or get harassed or albeit that was a playful scenario.
Yes.
That if women are offended, they think and some of the hand gesturing that he made, I have to defer to what they feel. Now, I've got a feeling Christine Holgate and a few at the Collingwood Football Club thought that way, because when Jordan was in Bali, he was teeing off at the media and the overkill and the persecution, all the rhetoric that he came out with. He returns, and within about 72 hours, he didn't obviously train with the club. He's apologising to the club for a lack of, the trust that he betrayed. So, look, I'm not into hanging the bloke, but by the same token, interesting to see De Goey's been whacked, I think, a lot harder than what Bailey Smith was when he came out and apologised. And yeah, it's interesting the way the media, because the media might have got a bit of a whack across the year by Jordan himself, they thought we'll go a bit harder here now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the case, but certainly I think Bailey Smith, in a lot of people's eyes, got a reprieve pretty quickly by the way he came out and spoke, as opposed to Jordan, who fired back at those who were pointing the finger.
I spoke about that at the time with Bailey Smith. I was impressed with the fact he put his hand up. He did say that he was, going through some mental demons. But again, I spoke about that saying, well, that's true. I don't think there was a mental health card played. He was honest, open, put his hand up. Yes, I stuffed up. Give me my penalty. I'll sort myself out. Whereas Jordan Ngoe, front foot, I think he probably misread the situation a bit as well by the sounds of things. And then he's finding himself in more grief.
But is that Collingwood's fault for not getting him to...
I think Collingwood's got a lot to play in this. I don't think they've played this very well.
Haven't handled that well in my eyes. And mind you, I'm not sure they were aware that Jordan was going to put out an Instagram rant as he did. So
you know how all this has stopped? Well, first of all, Jordan behaving himself in an appropriate manner. But the more I think about it, how they let him go to Bali, that's getting...
Given his history.
It's now moving into Jordan Ngoe's behaviour and mental health and ADHD diagnosis. But if Collingwood don't let him go overseas, which I've never heard of a player doing that during the season, this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And hopefully he can keep building on the trust that he's speaking about. And he's clearly a work in progress, but I think, aren't we all?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, look, I mean, we're the first to say, look, we enjoy that he's able to go out and have a drink, and I think young men need that outlet. The only thing I am confused about is after the New York incident, which I think happened at the start of the year or early in the year, why wasn't the ADHD aspect brought out then? That to me, I don't know. And he's taken leave from the club. So look, in all honesty, let's hope he's in a decent space, because he's a young man playing footy. He hasn't broken the law in this occasion. The New York one to me was a far more raised the eyebrows. What's he up to here? And just quickly before we move on, the TikTok boys, Isaac Quainer, Isaac Quainer and Jack Ginnivan, copping a fair bit of grief over the rating of the women on TikTok. Now, I went home, I've got 21-year-old daughters, and I said to one of them, I said, Olivia, what do you think about it? She goes, Dad, it's nothing. Because simply put, women, she said, we do the same with guys. We rate them. And sometimes the guys aren't actually even real. Sometimes it's a fictional setup. But she said, no, we do the same thing. It's lighthearted. It's a bit of fun. So just to put some context, which I wasn't aware, it happens both ways. So the Collingwood boys, slap on the wrist. I don't think, given the social media use that is in play now, that it's down that track of demeaning women.
That's real context, because I'd take the piss out of you calling you old bastard sitting here with me on the Shelter FootyCast, but I'm the same. I'm removed from that, and kids these days, inverted commas, they operate differently socially. They interact differently online. And a lot of the people commenting on that are our age. And of course, we look at it and think, oh, that is disrespectful.
Inappropriate. But guess what? If you look on any social media site, and if I go to my girls, whether it's Instagram or Snapchat, what we saw with Jordan Ngoe, it's dime a dozen. Yeah. That's regular.
Which is, that's even a bigger issue. Is that right or wrong? But that's what's happening these
days.
It is. All right, got to move on. Let's get into West Coast and Fremantle. 9 games to get through this week. So start with West Coast v Essendon. Friday night, Optus Stadium. A big standalone Friday night game. No, they've doubled up Friday night footy. So they've got 2 games playing.
I'll tell you why they're doing that. Because the Eagles-Essendon would have probably been Saturday night at Optus, but because they've got State of Origin on Sunday at the same venue, the turnaround would have been really quick. So that's why they've been pushed it, in my eyes, to the Friday night.
The line painters need to get out there with redo the oval.
I just think that it gives Optus Stadium a bit more time to get them the ducks in a row for Sunday for State of Origin. I'm serious. Yep. So we see doubleheader Friday night. It's
I think it could be a good game.
I agree.
I think I've looked at it and I think it's going to be a good game. West Coast, of course, lose Jeremy McGovern. He's out. He's had surgery on those ribs and some internal issues. So he's clearly not in a good way. I don't know if he'll play for the rest of the year. I'm not saying he won't, but
well, would you? If there's any risk, why?
He's going to be out for a decent amount of time. They regain Tim Kelly, Liam Ryan will be back. Nick Nananui will be playing in the waffle. So they are getting numbers back. We have spoken about this. West Coast will continue to build.
But I think they'll lose Dom Sheed. Reports he's got a bit of a hot spot in his foot, so I don't think he will play tomorrow night. Just soreness, so it's just a precaution. But yeah, that is the downside. You do get Tim Kelly back in replacing him. Interesting, Nick Nui playing in the waffle. If that happens, waiting for all the crying out from Will Schofield. You don't put a Ferrari in a garage, take it out of a garage and then take it out in the backyard. You put it out. Why aren't you jumping up and down about Nick Nat Nui playing waffle?
Would you like me to?
Well, where's the consistency? Nat Fyfe can do it. Why can't Nick Nat?
Okay, I think West Coast should play Nick Nat in the AFL. You can't put a Ferrari out in the paddock, mate. Get him in the AFL. What's he going to do differently in the waffle that he can do in the AFL?
Well,
where West Coast is shit.
He's played zero footy. That's. I mean,
okay, just put him in there. Do you think he off zero footy is better than Cal Jamison? Not talking ill of Cal Jamison. Is he going to be a better prospect in the ruck than him?
It's not even so much is he a better player.
He plays 60 minutes anyway. He plays 50 minutes anyway.
Yeah, hasn't taken a mark this year.
Is that? I did hear Cole.
Hasn't taken a mark this year.
Is that fact?
That is if, I mean, we know Nick Nat doesn't take a lot of marks, but not having taken a mark this year.
How many games has he played?
I would venture 6 to 8. Maybe I'm being generous there.
Okay. Well, I haven't taken a mark this year either, neither of you. So, how does each team win? Darcy Parish may be back for the Essendon Footy Club too, which would be good to see the best players playing. How does West Coast win? I think they're going to play a similar brand of football that they did against Geelong. We both saw that game. Pressure, high tempo. They weren't playing quickly, but they were high tempo. They moved the ball quite quickly.
And through the middle, Jermaine Jones through the middle, players who could break the lines. Yeah, I did like the way they went about it. Geelong's a slow ball moving team historically, so maybe that played into West Coast hands if they were trying to move the ball a bit quicker.
So that's how West Coast wins. Essendon, I think they've got to play the way we saw them play last year, which is take the game on, run and gun. If you put West Coast under pressure defensively that way, they haven't stood up this year when teams have moved the ball quickly because they haven't been defending well. They haven't been reacting quickly when the opposition get the footy, when the ball turns over. So Essendon, as soon as they get it, they should just be going every opportunity and expose a West Coast team with Adam McGovern, get the ball out of the back. West Coast have had a lot of out-the-back goals because they've been slow to react defensively. So I think that's how Essendon win.
I think, forget about play the way they did last year, play the way they did last week against St Kilda. It was really good Friday night footy, and I was so impressed with them. Peter Wright. Now, you talk about defensively for the West Coast. Well, he kicked 4 goals. It's been a pretty good pickup for Essendon, despite the knock on 2 metre Peter. So I think he was been terrific. Jake Stringer, if that third quarter, if he can keep producing that type of footy, he's one of the more senior players. Interesting that Darcy Parish didn't play last week, and whether that affected their ball movement or their midfield structure, but they looked a better team. So Essendon, for me, if they play like they did Friday night against the Saints, they beat the Eagles.
Is that your pick?
Yes.
Okay, Essendon. I pick West Coast.
No surprise.
What do you mean?
Well, you've gone back-to-back selections for West Coast. That's okay. You're entitled to get occasionally one wrong.
Skeets picked the favourite. Congratulations. Stay tuned for more insight from Mark Readings. Fremantle v Carlton. I bet you he'll pick Freo here. So will they be favourite? That's a good question.
They are slight favourites. Okay. Not that I follow that too closely. Well,
Saturday. You like a little, just a little.
I like a flutter. Yeah, I do.
Just a little flutter.
Only a couple of vices in life. That's one of them.
The punt, the piss. What else are you doing?
Yeah, to keep stop there.
Yeah, okay. Freo v Carlton, Saturday, 1:45, Marvel Stadium. So it's under the dome. Carlton don't have a key defender.
True.
They do not have a key defender. And Freo, adversely, they may get Taberner back. So they could have Lob, Taberner, and we don't speak about Fremantle's key forwards a lot, but they could have a pretty decent forward line to operate while Carlton has no key defender. So Fremantle will get back Michael Frederick from the club-imposed suspension, and Darcy Tucker may come back in to cover Blake Acres, who's still out with a hamstring. Carlton, I'm not sure how they actually cover the losses. Their team will remain a bit unchanged, but they lose their key defenders. So I've heard actually Harry Mackay's name thrown around as someone who goes back. You do not put the leading. He's close to leading the Coleman. You don't put him back.
No. And look, I tend to disagree. I think Carlton can win this game. I think their midfield will be able to at least halve the battle.
Big battle there. Yep.
Yeah, big battle. And I still think that Mackay and Curnow, who were beaten here, two months ago, thereabouts against Fremantle, I think they can have an afternoon out and score enough to win the game. So I think they can win. Luke Ryan's had the flu this week. He should be playing, which is good news. But, yeah, Fremantle up to their eyeballs in this, and they win this, of course, top 4, top 2 becomes more realistic. And I know you're probably going to stick with the boys in purple, which I totally understand. It's an easy call to make and a good call to make. But I think Carlton at Marvel will be, and I thought they were pretty good against
It's
Richmond.
not an
after
easy
being
call
jumped.
to make. They're going to...
No, it's an easy call to make because of their form and the way they're playing.
Yeah.
But I think Carlton were good enough against Richmond, despite, as we thought, getting jumped early in the wet. I thought they hung in there pretty well. So I'm going to stay with them. And
Carlton, if their midfield can get on top, it's going to turn it into a battle between Pearce, Cox, Mackay, Curnow. Like, that'll be... If it is a cult, can Freo's defence and their, not just their team defence, but their back six, can they hold up against a Carlton midfield who could potentially get on top? But if Fremantle's midfield can get on top, then they get to send their team defence up. Notoriously this year, Fremantle have been a very good side to stop opposition scoring. They're the best in the league.
Except against Hawthorn, where it was a shootout, which I was quite surprised with. But maybe that's the game
Sam Mitchell thing.
Yeah.
Sam Mitchell would have known that Freo are a good side, and he would have had a plan in order to open the game up. Yep. You got to do that. So that's what Carlton's got to do to win. They're going to try and open the game up, maybe move it a bit quicker than they have been, take the game on. Sort of similar to West Coast. Can you get them out the back? Can you open that defence up rather than let them get set, get their team defence going and slow the game down? I'll pick Freo. You'll pick Carlton.
Correct.
Okay, well, got a couple of differentiating tips.
Easily done this round. There's so many tough matches.
At least one of us will have one right. A couple of draws off the top probably. Okay, there we go. They're the West Coast and Fremantle stats here on the Shelter FootyCast. What are you shaking your head about, Dan? You're right over there, mate. Dan's a bit hungover, everybody.
Where's he been?
Oh, where have you been? Where have you been?
Just meeting some friends.
That's just a most inane, non-descriptive.
Did they have any shelters where you were?
They unfortunately didn't. I did ask if they had a little hidden stash somewhere behind the bar, but hopefully soon.
What was the venue?
The Whale and Ale in Clarkson.
The Whale and Ale in Clarkson.
Well, you've gone far and wide to find a venue to get gas. Well done, young man.
Yeah, I had to pull over halfway to fill up the gas tank. It was that far away.
Have you pressed record? We are recording.
Yes, we are
Okay,
recording.
very good. Rest of the round. Here we go. Coming at you. Melbourne v Brisbane tonight, Thursday night. Big game.
Massive game and some big ins, of course, for Melbourne. Stephen May is huge given what he does for their defensive setup. Sam Wiedemann is a young forward who's, well, to be honest with you, Melbourne needs someone to spark them in attack because their second halves over the last 3 weeks have been horrendous. And Bedford is the other young bloke coming into the side he's got a couple of tricks as well.
Max Gawn comes out, though.
Yes, I was about to say Maxi's the big out. Can they cover him? Does Luke Jackson automatically just play ruck?
Max Gawn's clearly a star of their team, but if Travis Jackson... Why do I keep calling him Travis Jackson? Luke Jackson could play 100% ruck. They probably would try that out and leave Max forward. So I think he'll have to be chopped out by someone. I don't know who, but I don't know if he plays 100% ruck.
Is it a Wiedemann? Is it someone of that ilk? I'm not sure, but what about Brisbane? Now, for their part, they've got some, including their captain, Dane Zorko, amongst others, so that's huge.
So Zach Bailey will be out. He's been a really big part of what they're doing this year. He plays in the forward line a lot. A lot of people want to see him in the midfield, but he kicks too many goals as a forward. He's out with H&S protocols, so he'll be having a couple of weeks off with COVID, more than likely. Darcy Gardner comes out, another player that does a lot for Brisbane. He's a lockdown defender. It's very difficult to replace lockdown defenders, I will say. Hey, I tell you, you think they're a dime a dozen, but you got to be in it to win it for Brizzy. Look, Melbourne have lost their mojo a little bit on the back of some off-field incidents. Really, I did speak to someone who was in the know, had some very inside information on that night. May v Melksham, pretty much as it was reported, is what happened, which is very rare these days.
So what does that mean for the club and harmony amongst the team?
May was running his mouth, talk shit about the premiership. Melksham, who's a junior boxer, didn't want a bar of having a fight. Melksham continued to say, don't want to fight. May wanted to fight. So Melksham said, all right, let's fight out the front. Went out the front. May had a couple of swings missed. Melksham smacked him in the mouth, cut his hand on his teeth, and Bob's your uncle. That's how it happened.
So May is a goose. It's been confirmed.
Absolutely confirmed goose status for Stephen.
He's seriously, he's a knucklehead. He's Neanderthal.
Absolutely. Melbourne have lost their mojo, though, and will miss their captain, Max Gawn. How do they win it? Do they take him on through the midfield? Is that they're going to have to win the midfield battle against Brisbane. They can't. There's no other way to beat Brisbane.
Well, you think they can with Petrarca, with Oliver. They've got the weapons to do that. So it's very strange to me that they've gone from being this unbeatable force to now how do they win a game of footy against Brisbane at the MCG? Brisbane's attack, we know how good it is, but we saw it at the Optus Stadium against the Dockers, albeit their defence was so good. Fremantle, Melbourne, let's be honest, they've got a very good defence with Stephen May back there. Yep. So I think that Melbourne, so much heat on them over the past month, but that week's break, I think, as much as any team in the comp, that will do them the world of good. So on that basis, I think the Demons, albeit it's the MCG, it might be the obvious selection, but I just think if they're a top 2 side, which I think they are, they need to start to kickstart their season.
If anything, the last sort of 3 losses for them have just given us a bit of little boost if you're having a flutter. I like Melbourne as well. I don't see them losing. I think Melbourne will win.
Yep.
Brisbane can attack them early, though. Melbourne are a confident team. They won a premiership. But given what's happened off field, what has happened in the last 3 weeks, they've lost 3 games in a row.
Self-doubt starts to come.
Correct. If you start well on their home ground, they think, maybe we're not as good as we are. Yeah, so Brisbane can do that. I don't see them doing it. I think Melbourne win. They don't win easily, but I think they win. I think we'll both take Melbourne.
Agreed.
Western Bulldogs v Hawthorn. Don't think that's a Friday night game. Is that Friday?
It is Friday. That's the first game of the double header. 5 o'clock our time it starts.
Okay, so this is the double up.
Absolutely.
So again, I think another good game. This one could be a high scoring affair. Western Bulldogs last week against GWS, highest scoring game of the year against a Hawthorn side that, we've been not critical, but speaking about the way they move, they take a lot of risks, and risk v reward, when it pays off, they score a lot. And I under the dome, Friday night, I could see this being a massive shootout.
Yeah, and an exciting game of footy, which hopefully is the case. But for the Bulldogs, English, Duray, and Cody Waitman could all miss. Now, we know what happened to Cody. Now, have you ever seen a player dislocate their elbow?
Yes, to start the question,
and then come back on?
No, crazy stuff. And it was clearly dislocated. It wasn't like, I wonder what he's done there. He's dislocated his elbow.
And he's kicked 5 straight on the night, and he was after the game, he looked as if he was in reasonable health. But
Josh Kennedy did it 1 year, and he spent 10 to 12 weeks in this brace, this metallic brace that locked his arm in place, and he was, can't imagine it would have been too fun at home for him, cracking a beer or wiping his ass, whatever he was doing. It was locked in this vice. So I reckon Cody Waitman could be the same. So he'd take it out of the vice 10 minutes before the game, strap it up, get out. So
you think he could play on tomorrow night? It's a big call.
I don't think so, but I'm just saying Josh Kennedy did. So if he doesn't, it's just
speaking of dislocations, I remember seeing, I think it was Jared Crouch at Geelong. I think he was playing for Sydney. He dislocated his kneecap. And
Maxfield.
You sure?
Maxwell.
I thought it was. Yeah, it was. Anyway, it was a Sydney player. Hit the kneecap back into place.
So, at least Waitman needed a bit of help to get the elbow back in place. Hawthorn will get Jack Dunstan and Mitch Lewis coming back into play, which is big for them. They'll have some scoring power. Who wins?
Bulldogs primarily, because if they're going to play finals, again, it's a pivotal game for them. So the Bulldogs to win it. Hawthorn's exciting. I like them. But do you trust them at this stage? Not enough to suggest they've got the midfield talent to beat the Bont, to beat Treloar, to beat McRae, to beat the Bulldogs mids, which invariably get so much of the footy. And coming off that result over the Giants, I'm going to stick with the Dogs.
I think they are too. I think Bulldogs will beat Hawthorn, but it's going to be a good game, high-scoring game, and it'll be a good one on Friday night footy. Geelong Cats v Richmond MCG, another cracking game. Dangerfield and Martin back, so a couple of Brownlow medalists return. Yeah, Dangerfield's won a Brownlow medal. Yeah, you looked at me. I saw those eyes.
I was just thinking the timing to get. I mean, Dusty was sick last week, and Danger's been just cooling his heels, getting himself right. I'm sure both clubs looked at the schedule and went, "Bang! That's when we need these guys back." Obviously, Dusty was going to come back in any case, but it's a tantalising thought.
And they're both big game players as well. I think Dangerfield comes out and has a big game. I think he's the sort of guy that I think, not knowing him that well, but 4 weeks layoff, he'll be been working his ass off. He'll want to be like, I'm back, and I'm back in a big way. So he'll start the centre bounce probably on Martin. They probably could start on each other.
And then say goodbye?
Yeah, probably. I think so. I think they could both have big games. Cochin misses with a broken collarbone, so he could miss some time. How does each team win this one?
Well, Geelong, purely. I know you weren't huge on Jeremy Cameron when we saw him against the Eagles.
He was very good. I just didn't think he had the impact that he usually does.
Oh, I don't know. I thought the way he got up and down the ground. Look, anyway, I think he and Tom Hawkins, the big two, albeit, I think there might be an issue down back for Richmond Bolter, I think. There's one of their key defenders in doubt or certainly not playing. That's where Geelong, for me, still remains a massive threat.
I think Richmond can win because the way they play their best footy, and we saw it, they started the game, we spoke about it after the fact we both tipped against them. They know this is a big game. MCG, they don't lose there very often. It doesn't matter how they're going. They'll come out and play their brand of footy, which is tap on, knock on. I hate watching Richmond, to be honest. I think it's yuck footy, but it's successful. So you can't knock it. And I think they're going to beat Geelong because I think that style of play doesn't suit Geelong. Geelong want to possess the footy. They want to go quick at stages, but Richmond just doesn't allow you to do what you want to do. And I think Richmond win this, and I think they'll win it pretty well, actually. You're going to pick Geelong, are you?
I'm tipping Geelong, yes.
Okay,
but the MCG is the factor that you rightfully point out is if this is played down at the Cattery, you almost can't pick against Geelong, can you?
Yeah, correct. So that's why it's a good game, though, because I think it'll tighten it right up. But I'll take Richmond, you take Geelong. Very good. Sydney Swans v St Kilda, Saturday evening at the SCG. Another good game.
They're all good.
Tom Hickey returns after Peter Laddams had an absolute brain fade against his old team in Port Adelaide. He's punching blokes in the chest and absolute ruckman-like behaviour. Just carrying like you would say, an absolute goose at Adelaide Oval. Jack Steele returns, the captain.
Big.
I mean, you sort of forget he hasn't been playing. They've been running some really young guys through that midfield. Owens was in there. He's been out with concussion. Windhager, I like his name, actually. He's been running through there. But Jack Steele bumps them out of it and really improves the St Kilda side, which both teams need to win. I reckon both teams have lost their mojo a little bit here. Haven't been playing their best footy. They've been grabbing some wins here and there, but I think this one's a real 8-point turnaround. You know, they're both sort of sitting similar positions on the ladder. Both teams will have this one circled on the calendar. They need to win it.
Absolutely. St Kilda, a loss to Brisbane. That's nothing that's going to really look back in hindsight and say that was a horrendous loss. But losing to Essendon last Friday night really set them back a bit because given Essendon's position on the ladder. And the Sydney Swans, we both tipped them against Port Adelaide, and they were disappointing. They were disappointing. They've done it a couple of times where they feel you see them beat Melbourne, you think, wow, this is the Sydney Swans we want to see.
So who are we going to pick?
SCG factors all I can go towards. So Sydney. I think Sydney wins because of that. I think at home, I think they've lost last week. I just feel they're probably a bit more. If I was putting the ladder at the start of the year, I had Sydney ahead of St Kilda. I know this is going back a bit, but I just think they are a team a bit more advanced than the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, they've been my side. I've been pushing pretty hard. I like them as a team. I think when they play their best footy, it's exciting to watch. You've got a young forward line with Buddy up there as well. They've always defended well. I'm picking Sydney as well. I think they do well in the SCG. Yep. North Melbourne v Adelaide.
Speaking of great games, this is not one of them. This is not one of them. At Blundstone Arena on Sunday.
My gosh.
North and the Crows.
Does anyone care? I know, seriously. Like West Coast v Essendon, I think has some interest. There's been a traditional rivalry there. It's Friday night footy. Both teams are coming off pretty good wins. This is actually the problem with North Melbourne. I have no interest in watching them play. I have none. Absolutely none. I won't be watching this game.
Well, even Jason Horne-Francis suspended. There's one out. Jack Zeebel's got the facial fracture. Look, to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of North Melbourne games this year because I haven't been prone to watching them. If you've got a choice and you've got to spend time with the family or go and watch another game at the same time, you're putting North Melbourne on the back burner.
It's not even a background watcher, this one, I don't think, unfortunately. I mean, we're not here to promote AFL, but, I mean, we're not going to pump this one up.
No, Adelaide wins. I mean, I would have thought they've been good enough.
It is in Tassie.
Yeah, no, it could be played on Mars. I just can't tip North.
Mars Stadium's in Ballarat now.
That's true.
Absolutely. I'm not tipping North. You watch North Melbourne win that one. You absolutely watch it. You watch it, mate. Come out.
And then Dan will replay that for me next week.
We'll have a big sign out in the Oval. G'day, Skeet and Scully.
We were wrong.
Shelter FootyCast. Yeah. Absolutely beautiful. Collingwood GWS. Back in the good games category, I think. Collingwood going very well this season. Got some interesting things happening off field. Jordan DeGoey, of course, taking personal leave, which I will say, while we're on this game, I was thinking about Collingwood. I think they've handled it poorly. They shouldn't let him in Bali. If I was a teammate of Jordan DeGoey, I would be absolutely filthy filthy. He's one of their better players. He's decided in the middle of the year that he needs to go for 4 days to Bali. He's got in trouble. He hasn't taken ownership of his decisions. Now he's taking personal leave. Look, the mental health element is true. I've been through my own mental health issues. I wouldn't ever use it as an excuse for anything. That's just something that happens in life. I would be dead set filthy with Jordan De Goey because he's a good player and you want your good players playing and they're having a good year. If Collingwood's going no good, mate, I'm empathetic. I understand people's situation, but as a true competitor, that's what I wanted to do: win games of footy. He helps them win, and now he can't do that, and it's of his own doing. Absolutely of his own doing.
True. But I was interested to hear you say that you'd be filthy if you're a teammate. And you say that not in a sense you're going to go and give him a spray. I know that, but by the same token, with most guys, and like you could say the same thing about, say, Willie Rioli, about tampering with...
Do you think I was happy with Willie?
No, but the first thing you're going to do when you see Willie, I would have thought is, hey, mate, look, your mates first and your human beings first.
Yep, people, mates first, give him a hug, love him.
Yep.
I can still be filthy.
In a footy sense.
I can still be filthy with him.
Yeah.
Because that year, 2019, that disrupted our finals campaign.
Yeah, true.
And it was back end of my career, and we don't get to go and defend our premiership the year before.
That wasn't the reason, but it certainly was a speed hump.
Yeah, correct. And so I was filthy with him. I love Willie, one of the great guys, but I still was angry with him because it affected our ability to win. And so that's why Jordan De Goey, I think his teammates will feel the same way.
But quickly, I think Craig McRae is a right guy, even though Collingwood has handled this poorly. I think he's the right guy for this team on game day, the way he's got them playing. He's got the young guys coming through the Dacos boards. They've got so much to like about them, and they'll have some moments between now and the end of the season, even if they don't make the 8, we think, that's a poor effort. They've been pretty consistent. They haven't had too many weeks where I thought, gee, they were terrible.
And they've proved a lot of people wrong. Not many people picked them. Taranto, Phil Davis to return for GWS. They'll lose their ruckman in Bruce. He's injured again. I think Collingwood win at the MCG.
Yeah, Collingwood definitely win at the MCG because the Giants, as good as they were last week, competitive against the Bulldogs, they're playing more exciting footy, but is it winning footy against better teams? I don't think so. I think Collingwood wins.
Port Adelaide v the Gold Coast Suns, Sunday, 4:10 Adelaide Oval. I think this is another good game. We've got 8 out of 9 good games of footy to watch.
Totally, and this one's no different. 4 or 5 weeks ago, I think I said Port Adelaide could still make the 8. Last week I jumped off. They're still actually in that mix, aren't they, with the Gold Coast Suns?
You on them or off them? What are you doing? Tell me if they're good or not. People are listening to this. It's a high class
0 and 5. I made a statement saying they could still make the 8, and I'm.
So what do you think now?
I don't think they will. But
okay, perfect. Lock them in for the 8.
But the Sun, I'd like to see the Suns get there. And by the way, Zach Butter's out. Bryn Teakle, I spoke to him yesterday, trying to get hold of his cousin Julia, who's heading across to Port Adelaide. And
how's he going?
He's going okay. He's got the collarbone. I think the quote as he was coming off the ground to Ken Hinkley, and he's waving to the crowd. He's got his shoulder strapped up, and he said that was the best 45 minutes of my life. Because of course after that time he was on the sidelines benched because of.
I hope
injury.
that's not the last time we see him at AFL level. But what a debut!
The Northampton product again, showing a bit of character. Yeah, look, I'm staying true to Port Adelaide at home. I think Gold Coast have been very good. If this is a flip flop game for me, this is Gold Coast. I think the Suns win.
I'm picking Gold Coast. How about that?
Why?
Because you picked Port Adelaide.
Jared Witts to lead from the front.
Absolutely. I don't know why you're not on the Witts train. I mean, they've beaten Sydney. They've beaten Fremantle. They've won their last 5 games, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Do you want any more hotter form or you don't like that?
No, they beat Adelaide last week.
Against a Port Adelaide side, just do not impress me in the slightest, Port Adelaide.
So they beat Sydney, who you regard quite highly last week, but that's not good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Gold Coast Suns will win that game. You've picked Port. What a shock of the world. Favourites again for Mark Reddings. Game to watch. There's a couple of good games that we've spoken about. I think Brisbane-Melbourne tonight, Thursday. Yes. That's a top 4 clash. Got to be there. Fremantle-Carlton. That could go either way. It's an away game.
The top 4 ramifications, both those matches. Yep. And you've left out the other game, which is a ripper, Geelong-Richmond.
Yes.
That's a beauty. So, that shows you how strong this round is. We've seen some absolute stinkers over the past 3 weekends because of the buys, but this round is absolutely the best of the season thus far, given the ladder positions.
We couldn't squeeze Adelaide, North Melbourne into games to watch?
Not even in the slightest.
Okay, very good. That's it. That's the round preview here on the Shelter FootyCast. All right, I like this segment. It's one of my favourite parts of the week. I know it's your favourite as well, apart from getting dressed in front of the mirror and this is superb stuff that you got on today. I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions, a couple of questions, a couple of statements, and you and I are going to go at it for a little bit on them. Essendon are in a worse place than West Coast ahead of the Friday night clash. Teams, clubs, future, Essendon and West Coast. Who's in a worse spot?
Look, I know there's a review at Essendon. I know there's a question marks over the coach at times this year. I think Essendon on a playing front is more advanced than West Coast at the moment because of the young players coming through.
Okay, so you say West Coast are in a worse spot?
At the moment.
Their future? Right now?
I think West Coast can bounce back quickly, don't get me wrong, but I think Essendon's list at the moment, I think moving forward, I think West Coast has got more work to do to get themselves into a better spot.
I saw Mick Malthouse pick Essendon to win the flag at the start of this year, and all respect to Mick, he's done a lot of great things in football. That's not one of them, I'll tell you that right now. It was like when Robert Walls picked West Coast to win the Spoon in 2018. Just outrageous behaviour. I don't see a lot of upside in the Essendon list.
Hang on a sec, that's a bit harsh.
No, it's not.
Nick Martin, a WA kid's gone across there. Terrific. I mean, you got to look at Sam Draper in the ruck. He's going to be a really good player.
Anyone else?
Forward.
I mean, they've been
Nick
doing,
Hind. They've
been
Harrison
doing
Jones.
the same thing. They did the same thing under John Worsfold. It's really set them back, the drug saga that went on there, the supplement saga.
Absolutely.
It set them back 5 or 6 years. Spoke to Dustin Fletcher this week about it. And I think they've missed like a decade of their football because of it. And are they going to get, like, they can't make the 8. I don't think they're a team that can jump into a top 4 anytime soon. They've barely got a forward line. Peter Wright, yep, going well, but that's about it. Jake Stringer is the most inconsistent player in the AFL.
They did play finals last season,
which I don't know how they did it. And then, how do they rock up and do what they've done to start this year? They played finals last year and they're bottom 3 side.
Yeah, well, that happened to Melbourne after 2018. They fell off the cliff for what inexplicably. So look,
Essendon are in a worse spot than West Coast. I'll tell you right now.
Essendon, well, as a club with a review with the history of what you're talking about with the recovery after the supplement saga. Look, I bow to that. But from a playing list point of view, I think if you line up the two lists at the moment and what's to come in terms of growth from some of the young players, I think West Coast are lacking the younger players, the younger talent that Essendon has at the moment. But don't get me wrong, I think West Coast
both are in shambles.
Well, at the moment they both are. But West Coast, I've got faith that their bounce back factor is probably more reliable.
Essendon's.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll agree to disagree. Last one, the outside the top 4 teams. So Brisbane, Melbourne, Geelong, Fremantle. Who should teams fear outside that top 4?
No question. You would not want to play Richmond at the MCG by chance if you're, say, Melbourne in week 1 of the finals, or they are the side that if they're healthy, that's the caveat. If they're healthy with their key defenders like Grimes and Vlosten all up and running, and Dusty, the main culprits, and Prestia, etc., they are the team without question that you'd be going, oh no, we've got Richmond first up, elimination final. At the G, it'd bring heart murmurs.
I'll answer yours with coming at you a little bit. I don't think Richmond are a team to fear. Yes, they can come out and play well, but yes, they can come out and play poorly. I think their stars that have held them in such great regard for the last 4 or 5 years are coming towards the end. Trent Cotchin, who's been a great captain and leader of that side, is no longer captain. He's out injured. Dustin Martin, we don't even know if he's going to be playing there next year. Tom Lynch has never really got to those heights that Richmond wanted him to. Won 3 premierships. So
he's had a reasonable career there.
He's done well, but he's never been that Jeremy Cameron sort of player.
I'm not saying they can win it. I'm not saying they can win it, Scully, but I think we're talking about to meet in the first week of the finals. Wouldn't you fear Richmond ahead of who?
Carlton, mate. Carlton. Who in the AFL has anyone to play on? Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow. And then their midfield.
We saw it last week.
Who?
Well, we saw Richmond do a number on them.
Oh, no.
They controlled that game
from
basically the get-go and held them at arm's length. So without trying to shoot you down in flames,
Jeff,
I'm just
going
to
to get a bucket of water.
Shoot me down, bang, bang.
I can't come back from that. Tell Carlton's better than Richmond. Richmond beat Carlton last
Comfortably.
week. Okay, well,
Anyway.
that's the first time I'll concede defeat. You win. Well done. Very good. Shelter FootyCast here with Mark Reddings, Will Schofield. Hope you're enjoying your time. You can get in touch with us. You can send an email right to us on the FootyCast. We'd love to hear from you. FootyCast@shelterbrewing.com.au. FootyCast@shelterbrewing.com.au. If you want to send it, we'll read it. That's a little steal from BackChat. Oh, no. This is from Julian in Busselton. He's obviously been down at Shelter, I think. Hi, boys. Is Stephen May the league MVP? D's falling to pieces without him, or is he the league, I'm going to say it, fuckwit, because of what he's done to the team chemistry off the field? Thanks, Julian.
Yeah, I'll agree with the second element of the question.
Perfect.
Because I'm not a huge rap for him on a number of fronts. The first bit, no, I don't think he's the MVP, but I think he's close to the most important player at Melbourne.
Yep, I would say, he and Gawn, which is they've been sort of without one or the other the last few weeks. So plays a very important role, not only as a player, but you can replace a role with another. They've got Tomlinson on their list, and that hasn't worked. So he clearly is a very good player. I agree with the second part as well. I think he's leading the league in goosery, as you would say. Who is the league MVP?
I mean, you can go on whether it's blokes like Oliver or Neil or Brayshaw. I mean, but is that the judge? Is that how you judge it?
They're Brownlow medalists.
Yeah, exactly. Is it
MVP? I'm thinking more your most important players
role players
to their team. So Stephen May is in the category.
That's exactly.
Because he's not going to win a Brownlow medal.
No. But yeah, it's a good question about MVP. I think he's the most valuable player almost to Melbourne, but there's probably one of those at each club.
Yeah, well, someone like a Joe Danaher at Brisbane. I know he's not going to win the Coleman.
No.
But you take him out of that side, they lose a fair bit of their structure. I'm thinking about the good teams.
Sean Darcy, for instance, he's close to the most valuable player at Fremantle because of what he brings.
Tom Hawkins, Jeremy Cameron duo at Geelong. If you lose one or both of those, suddenly a defence
whether it's Tom Stewart at Geelong who provides so much. So, yeah, off the back of that, yes, we agree he's very close to the most valuable player at Melbourne, and, yeah, he's probably in the discussion.
Okay, very good. Shelter FootyCast. Done and dusted. You know where to find us. Socials, Shelter FootyCast on Instagram. We need your country footy stories. Before we go, keep your eyes open over the weekend. If you're in the regions, if you're playing country footy, if you see someone bag 27 goals, I will tease, I have an all-time country footy story from Kojonup Football Club. Was down there during the week with Dustin Fletcher. Had a great little chat with someone down there, but I'd like to be beaten. If you want a slab of shelter, you can send through your story, your regional footy story, and we'll send you out a slab of shelters out.
And there's going to be a few of those ones you told me from Kojonup. There's going to be heaps of them out there, and some quirky, funny milestones, blokes who are playing into their 50s or 60s. Just get it into us, and you could be on the receiving end of a tasty batch of shelters.
Follow us on socials. Give us an email, footycast@shelterbrewing.com.au. Find us on YouTube. If you really want to check out what Mark Reddings is, I feel like you're going to the races. I don't know if there's races in Perth on a Thursday, but I feel like you're off to the races.
I'm preparing mentally for the Spring Carnival. I'm going back this year, baby.
Very good. I'll see you there. Mark Reddings, Will Schofield. Bye-bye.